Good evening, Council. We're going to call our special council meeting to order for Wednesday, November the 13th, 2024 at 6:31 p.m. Number 2 is our declaration of pecuniary interest. Members of council, does anybody have a declaration of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Number 3 is our approval of the agenda. We have a motion that the agenda of the special council meeting for November the 13th, 2024 be approved as presented, moved by Councilor Waters, second by the Deputy Mayor. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Council, we have 2 items on our next item, which is in-camera items. One is regarding drainage improvements within Phase 2 of Harbor Point subdivision, and a memo from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding 78 Main Street. So there's attachments in our closed agenda package. Does anybody require to go into closed session for further questions or comments for staff? Okay, seeing none, Council. The recommendations are before us on the closed session, so we have no need to go into camera. Move on to the next item on the agenda, which is reports from an in-camera meeting held. Again, there are 2. So the first one is drainage improvements within Phase 2 of Harbor Point subdivision. I'll turn to the clerk or the CO for a moment. For the motion that we're going to read in open session, is it as directed in the report?
Thank you, Your Worship. Should council decide to go with the proposed motion within the report, then that motion can be read in open.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry about that. Please go ahead as directed with the motion within the report.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you mind reading that for everyone, just what the motion is, and then we'll call for the vote from there.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion that's presented within the report is that council approve funds of $50,000 to an utmost of $91,500 should a summary judgment motion or summary trial related to Phase 2 of the Harbor Point subdivision be required as outlined in the staff report ENG 2024-21.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'm going to look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Marchand, second by Councillor DeRush. Further comments and questions in open session? Nothing that's on the closed item that was meant for a close. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Our second item, Council, is regarding an update from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding 78 Main Street. Again, the information was received for information. There is no action. I'll just ask if there's any further comments or questions. This is received for information. I'll look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, second by Councillor Vadabonker. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that too is carried. Move on to our next item, which is question period from media and public. Emily, I assume there's no one online for this one, but just for clarity, is there anyone online? There's no one here, so we'll move on to our adjournment. We're looking for motion to adjourn at 6:34. Moved by Councillor Marchand, second by Councillor DeRush. All in favor? And that is opposed. And thank you very much. We'll be back at 7 for our council meeting. Good evening, Council. Good evening, members of the public and staff. Welcome to our Council meeting for Wednesday, November the 13th, 2024. I'm going to call our meeting to order at 7 p.m. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. There's a couple elements of the meeting tonight. If you want to participate, I'll guide you where that is. So we do have a couple of development applications coming before us. They are public meetings. So if you're here regarding 200 Main Street and the official plan amendment zoning bylaw, there's an opportunity for any member of the public to comment on that at that time. So we'll call you at that time. We also have two more planning items regarding 57 MacArthur and 88 Wozniak. If you want to address council about any other item, I'd have you go to the clerk and register. Anybody's welcome to speak to council at any time. So we'd ask you to register with Madam Clerk, and we'll call you up to the podium at that time to address council about any matters before you. Moving on, number 2 is our land acknowledgement. Penetanguishene respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people and their ancestors, now known as the Williams Treaties First Nations territory. This includes the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Bosley First Nation, Rama First Nation, and the Georgina Island First Nation, Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nations. Also once home of the Huron-Wendat, and more recently the historic settlement of the Métis, Penetanguishene is now home to many Indigenous peoples. Penetanguishene is proud of its Indigenous name, and more importantly, that for thousands of years it has been and will continue to be an important homeland and gathering place for Indigenous people. We recognize that we are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters and are responsible to ensure that our Mother the Earth is here for future generations. So again, welcome everybody to our meeting. I'm going to ask Council if we can rise, and Councillor Darush, if you could guide us in our Council commitment, please.
Nous sommes reconnaissants des nombreuses grâces accordées à Penetanguishene et à ses citoyens dans la liberté, les possibilités et la paix dont nous jouissons. Que nous soyons des intendants dignes de tout ce qui nous a été confié. Nous demandons que toutes les personnes présentes et celles qui n'ont pas pu se présenter nous aident à promouvoir une bonne gouvernance. Que nos décisions à titre de membres du Conseil soient éclairées et que nous soyons tous renforcés à prendre conscience de nos devoirs et responsabilités. Que l'on nous accorde la sagesse, les connaissances, la volonté et la compréhension qui nous permettront de préserver la bonne fortune de la ville au bénéfice de tous, ainsi que de faire de bonnes lois et prendre de sages décisions. Merci de votre présence.
Thank you very much, Councillor Darush. Councillor Waters.
We are grateful for the many gifts which have been bestowed on Penetanguishene and its citizens, including the gifts of freedom, opportunity, and peace that we enjoy. May we be worthy custodians of all that have been entrusted to us, and we ask that all, in accordance with those who could not be here, assist us in promoting good government. May our decisions as members of council be enlightened, and may we all be strengthened in our awareness of our duties and responsibilities. May we be granted the wisdom, knowledge, will, and understanding to preserve the good fortune of the town of Penetanguishene for the benefit of all, and to make good laws and wise decisions. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much, Councillor Waters. I'd like us to take a minute, if we can just have a moment of private contemplation. One, to recognize the sacrifices many have done to bring freedoms to Canada. We celebrated Remembrance Day a couple of days ago, but if we can recognize that. As well as we lost a long-term employee of our municipality in Betty Valentine, if we can recognize her contributions to our community. We will recognize that by lowering our flags in the municipality tomorrow, but if we can take a minute, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. Councillor, we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda. It's our approval of the agenda. I have a motion that the agenda of the regular council meeting of November the 13th, 2024 be approved as presented. I'll look for mover, Councillor Waters, second by Councillor Veta-Bunker. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Number 5 is our declaration of pecuniary interest. Any members have a declaration of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to our open forum. Open forum is an opportunity where members of the public get to address council about anything that's important to you. Again, if you're here about one of the planning matters, I'll ask you to wait until we're at that part of the agenda at our public meeting. But you're open to bring up any matters that are important to you. I'd ask that you register with Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, has anyone registered for open forum tonight?
Thank you, Your Worship. There is no one registered for open forum this evening.
Okay,
Thank you.
Does anyone want to address council? Anything that's in particular important to you? Okay. Moving on, our next item is statement from members, an opportunity for council to share with members of the public what council's been doing on your behalf. We'll start with Councillor DeRush.
Thank you very much. Start by saying that I had the pleasure of attending the Employee Outstanding Service Recognition Award that was held out here in our court, and we recognized the credible contributions from Chris Adamson. So it was a pleasure for me to meet her, and it was a pleasure to celebrate all that she provided to the town of Penetanguishene. I also, yesterday, I actually interviewed 8 incredible individuals for the Do You Remember When, or Vous en souvenez-vous, which is a project that is funded through the province but is done through Culture Alliance. So Culture Alliance is an organization made up of the townships of Tiny and Tay and towns of Penetang and Midland, and together we celebrate, foster, promote, and leverage cultural resources in the heart of Georgian Bay. And one of the projects is interviewing more seasoned individuals in our community and hearing their story about when they were born and where they were born and whatnot. So it was really quite an adventure to hear the incredible accomplishments from 90 and 92 and 93-year-olds. So it was a real pleasure. So that was my treat yesterday. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rush. Councillor Waters.
So what did I do? October 18th, I had a roundtable discussion with members from neighboring municipalities as far away as Gravenhurst, I believe, with the Ministry of Rural Affairs. A couple of weeks ago, I spent a couple hours out looking at our boats that we're going to hear about in a little while. It was quite interesting. It's a great collection they got. And other than that, it's been business as usual, but nothing too exciting. Oh, I did go to Remembrance Day, which I imagine most people did. I've always gone to Remembrance Day, even as a little child. My dad was in the Air Force, and today's the 22nd anniversary since he died.
Thank you for sharing, Councillor Waters. Councillor Marcia.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple quick updates for myself. As the Severn Sound Environmental Association representative for the town of Penetanguishene, I did attend the Q3 meeting on behalf of the municipality. The report will come as information probably for the December meeting, but just really wanted to highlight the tremendous work that the that the SSCA does in our communities, specifically around education and awareness. The amount of outreach that they did throughout the summer months, attending every local barbecue and event, just really raising awareness and really encouraging more knowledge about the great work that they do. So really pleased that of that report and the amount of work that they continue to do in our community. So grateful for that. The other thing I just wanted to highlight and just wanted to share, some of you may know, a Penetang minor hockey family was in a really serious motor vehicle accident last Sunday on their way to a game in Oro. One of our young players players on the U15 team sustained no injuries. However, both of his family are in Sunnybrook Hospital. But the Penetang Minor Hockey Association is truly a family in this community, and we continue to rally around this family. The father is very active on the board, and just wanted to say that the Dion family is in our thoughts and our prayers, and we just really want to really say thank you to everybody who has been supporting them, and just know that we appreciate minor hockey and everything they've done for them and what they do for our community and give back, and we're thinking of them, and just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. Councillor Vadabunker.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had a few activities over the last month. On October 28th, I chaired the Committee of Adjustment meeting that we held. I attended the Remembrance Day ceremony at our cenotaph here in Memorial Park. I responded to a few taxpayer inquiries directly or through staff, and I attended the Employee Recognition Award for Chris Adamson, and I had the pleasure of working with Chris Adamson. She was nominated by Betty Valentine, who I appreciate, Your Worship, that you mentioned. Betty, I worked with Betty for 10 years. Of her 31 years working for the town of Penetang. She was an outstanding employee and actively involved in the community, and she will be sorely missed. And her visitation and funeral are next Monday, the 18th. So sad day for Penetang, so I appreciate you mentioning that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vadabunker. CO Lees.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple things I would share. As has already been mentioned, had the privilege of attending the Employee Outstanding Service Recognition, Christina Adams, and certainly happy and excited for her and the contributions that she made to the community over the years. We had an all-staff meeting a couple weeks ago that we host twice a year. Appreciate the community's patience in a small closure of our facilities so that we can bring all of our teams together and provide some updates around what's happening in the community, what's happening at the council table, and what's happening across the various departments in the municipality. And last but not least, attended a Ontario West Municipal Conference with Mayor Rawson a couple weeks ago as well in Chatham. Big focus on housing and housing sustainability. Had some good discussion with other colleagues, other municipalities, and heard from some folks at the province. So thank you, Your Worship, for the opportunity.
Thank you, CO Lees. Thanks, Council, for sharing with the community the great work you're doing and we're doing collectively. I won't echo everything everyone commented, but as well, I participated in the Ontario Association of Police Service Board Zone 3 meeting as we start getting together with our new police governance structure, and we'll have a new OPP detachment board operating shortly, so I participated in that. I was proud to be present at Sales Cafe grand opening. I think it was great, and the treats they shared with me at the time we were there was pretty spectacular, so I encourage everyone to check it out. I was also able to participate in Mariposa Hospice Center, where the county provides funding supports. Last year, the county provided that to our hospice here in the town of Penetang, but I was proud to be at Mariposa's. I was also at Pumpkin Inferno's backstage access night, which was a phenomenal event. I think they do a tremendous job. I think everything they do is tremendous, but that was a great event to be part of. The CEO already mentioned about the Western Wardens Caucus. I too was at the Employee Outstanding Service. I participated in our Economic Development Corporation monthly meeting. I also want to highlight our public consultations, and I want to recognize our staff and hats off. And I know everyone contributed, but Carrie, I'm going to give my hats off to you and to the team. I think it was so well done. I think it was delivered expertly. I can't think of anything we could have done better. And I know those that participated really appreciated everyone's participation and delivery of the great programs and services. So thank you for those public consultations and what you did. I think it was spectacular. Again, thanks on behalf of council for that. last night, Emily and myself hosted about 20 local Girl Guides and Sparks who were interested in learning what does the town do. So we had our normal presentation package. We had to change our verbiage a little bit because sometimes the planning stuff can be difficult to share with people in grade 2, 3, 4, but it was well done. And we had, Emily, I would say 50 questions in about a 90-minute span. So it was well done. So thanks for the leaders for bringing them here. And I also just want to highlight Remembrance Day. I can't say enough the great work that our Legion does, but that we take time to reflect and pause. One of the reflections I had from our Remembrance Day, and I think we should be proud of, was I'm seeing our attendance growing year after year. I know I was at the Veterans Dinner at our Legion on Remembrance Day, and everyone commented our attendance. MPP Dunlop was not at our cenotaph. She was in Orillia, but she had her staff here, and they all tried to get her. And the talk was how our participation in our town is just growing and growing and growing, where others are starting to shrink. So congratulations to everyone for taking time to remember, reflect, and honor. And it's my honor to be part of that process. So thank you. And again, that's the work that your council is doing for you. Council, we're moving on. Number 8 is proclamations. We have none this evening. Number 9, we're going to move into public meeting. We have 3 this evening. I'm going to start with our first one. It's regarding a public meeting for 200 Main Street regarding official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment. Okay, so this is a public meeting tonight under section 22 and 34 of the Planning Act to consider an official plan amendment, file number OPA 2024-01, and zoning bylaw amendment, file number ZA 9-2024, for the properties at 200 Main Street, the south parcel, and 35 Thompsons Road West, the north parcel. This is for council. Council, the purpose of this public meeting is to provide an opportunity for the public to make comments. The purpose of this public meeting is not to engage in a debate regarding the merits of the application, nor is it intended to be a question and answer session. There is an opportunity later in the meeting to ask questions on the application after the public meeting has concluded. Andrew, I'm going to ask if you can please introduce the application. I'd like you to confirm if notification was made, and if you can note any correspondence that has been received, and could you kindly outline the proposal for us?
Thank you very much, Your Worship, members of council, staff, and the public. With respect to this application, I can confirm that the application was received on September 19th and deemed complete on October 17th, 2024. Notice of tonight's application was given on October 23rd, as required by the Planning Act, as well as the town's alternative notice policy. To date, we've received correspondence that can be found in the agenda package from the following agencies: Bell, Enbridge, the Huron-Wendat Nation, Simcoe County Planning Department, as well as the Risk Management official from the SSEA. Additionally, there was public correspondence that's received in the package from Rose and Jim Schenk, as well as the St. Anne Cemetery Board representative. There's also some correspondence that was received late this afternoon that will be circulated to council, as well as available later at a future public or future report. Tonight, in regards to the application, we do have the applicant online, and they have a presentation that will go through and outline the proposal. So I will turn it over to them.
Thank you, Andrea. Are we able to share our slides provided? Thank you very much. And just confirming everyone can hear me.
We can hear you fine and your presentation's present. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right. Good evening. Hello. Welcome. My name is Mishi McCloskey, and I'm an associate at Sejeki Planning. And we are representing the client this evening regarding their property at 200 Main Street. Next slide, please. Here's some general information on the site. The site has a total area of just over 11 acres, and it's located on the west side of Main Street and bisected by the new Thompsons Road extension, which divides the site into a north and south parcel. Surrounding uses include a variety of commercial and residential uses along Main Street. St. Anne's Cemetery to the north, the arena to the northeast, residential neighborhoods on both east and west of the site, and the quarry to the south. Next slide, please. Here are some photos of the site. The top photos include views along Thompson's Road West, and the bottom photo shows views looking from Main Street. Next slide, please. Jumping into the planning aspects of the proposal, in the official plan, the site has 3 designations. So those are neighborhood area, environmental protection, and mixed-use commercial area. It is also designated as a future study area, meaning that we need to consider lands immediately adjacent to the site within the future study area. And this included us reaching out to our neighbors. The proposed official plan amendment redesignates the lands entirely as mixed use and commercial area and removes the future study area overlay. Moving on to zoning, the site has multiple zones, including rural, environmental protection, and mixed use commercial. We are proposing to rezone the entire site to mixed-use commercial with an exception, and that exception would be required to permit site-specific uses, including townhouses, dwelling units above the main floor commercial units, and a maximum height of 6 stories. As you'll see too, there is a natural feature running through the middle of the site, which applies to both the official plan and zoning bylaw. And this pertains to an overland drainage feature that does not fall within the official plan's environmental protection overlay on Schedule B1. And as part of our submission, we completed a scoped environmental impact study, which determined the proposed development complies with the official plan's natural heritage policies. Next slide, please. All right, here is a conceptual render of the proposal, which includes 11 new buildings over 3 phases. It includes a variety of housing options and commercial uses. And it also incorporates open space elements, which we'll get into in a few slides. Next slide, please. Starting with the north parcel, there are 2 6-story rental buildings proposed and 2 6-story condo buildings. And these buildings have a dedicated underground parking area, as well as additional parking at grade. Next slide, please. Turning to the south parcel. So the eastern portion of the site contains the 2 commercial buildings, and that's along Main Street. This includes a commercial plaza with 9 commercial units and a standalone building with a drive-through. The western portion contains the residential units, which include 6-story condo buildings and 3 3-story townhouse blocks. These condos have underground parking as well proposed, and the townhouses each have their own individual driveway and garage. As you can see in the middle of the residential, I guess the western portion we'll call it, there's also a large open space area that will be programmed to serve new residents. Next slide, please. Here is the conceptual landscaping plan, master plan rather, prepared by Prozier. It considers elements such as new public space, a playground, landscaping, a significant amount of new trees, as well as programmable outdoor space. And we've talked about, knowing that there's a long cold winter, having an all-season programming space where events could occur, farmers market in the summer, and potentially even a dog park added to this as well. We do integrate low-impact development features throughout the entire plan, and this plan is consistent with Penetanguishene's community design manual by combining with the site layout to achieve attractive public amenities that ensure, gathering and recreation for residents. Next slide, please. Here's a snapshot of the phasing plan mentioned previously. So essentially, we've divided it into 3 phases, phase 1 being part 1A and part B. And those are the commercial phases closer to Main Street, and the other 2 being the residential. And the idea is that, phase 1 would be brought forward first and the residential phases would follow. Next slide, please. Well, thank you for providing the opportunity to walk us through the proposal with you. We believe that this proposal offers many planning and community benefits. We've really appreciated working with Andrea and planning staff to date on this application. We're really excited about it. And yeah, with that, we welcome questions from the public and council. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation with us tonight. I'll ask if anyone in the audience wishes to make any comments on the application based on land use planning issues relevant to this application. If you do, I'm going to ask you to come to the podium and ask you to state your name and your address for the record. And I'll ask again, if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to make comments on the application based on land use planning issues relevant to the application, please make your way to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, please. Yep, I just have you go to the podium.
Let me begin by saying I am not opposed to the development as a whole. I do have unanswered questions and concerns pertaining to the justification of the size of the proposed development and the proposed site-specific exemptions to the town's official plan and zoning bylaw. I did attend the informal open house hosted by the developer in February of this year at the arena, and I've also reviewed the documents available on the town's website in support of the application. I will say it was a little disheartening to see that the report focuses mainly on the impact the development will have on the existing commercial establishments within the immediate vicinity of the development and the subdivision to the northwest, Balliol Heights. Yet little or no consideration was given to the houses immediately adjacent to the development or to the southeast on Murray Road and east of that. Not to mention the impact of the overall entrance to our community and our historic downtown. I do understand that notice of this meeting was distributed in accordance with the Planning Act. However, given the size and magnitude of the proposed development and how it will impact our community as a whole, I feel notice should have been broader to include our existing business community as well as all residents. In reviewing the information submitted to support the official plan and zoning amendments, there are a number of inconsistencies that make it difficult to submit specific comments and concerns regarding the development. For example, the transportation impact study in areas of the report only refer to 2 condo buildings, 2 rental buildings, and 3 blocks of townhouses, along with 2 single-story commercial buildings. Other areas of the report refer to 4 condo buildings. So are the calculations in the traffic impact based on the correct number of condo buildings? The proposed zoning bylaw amendment references an exemption to allow for dwelling units above the main floor commercial units. However, yet nowhere in the design plans or the studies in this have outlined this, and the material submitted only refers to 2 single-story commercial buildings. My first area of concern pertains to the opposed official plan amendment. I've read through the reports with respect to potential environmental impacts on the existing watercourse and high water table. I feel the value of the wetland area to the southwest of the development lands has been undervalued and minimized to suit the development plans. How will redirecting this natural water flow affect the existing wetland area? And how will the proposed underground parking and underground water retention area affect the water table, which is already an issue in the Balliol subdivision? I believe a portion of the wetland, which is located within the southern development parcel and is currently identified as environmental protection, for which has been requested to be rezoned mixed use. The wetland area is why it is currently identified as EP and should remain as such for the lower portion of the southern development parcel. The development location is noted within the official plan as being within the future study area. Future study areas are proposed to ensure that planning is sensitive to local conditions within a specific area. The future study areas overlay provides an additional layer of policies to help protect certain areas from development until supported by future studies. The proposed official plan amendment requests the removal of this designation. Given that the town's official plan is relatively new, the rationale to mark this area for future study is not outdated, and I'm sure was done with great thought and was assessed on the basis of the development potential and the significance to the town. As a future study area, special policies and further studies are required to determine how land should be used. To remove this overlay may be considered premature given the size of the proposed development as a whole and its impact to the surrounding area and community. In reference to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, I fully support the inclusion of townhouses within the mixed-use zone. It just seems a little disproportionate that only 19 townhomes compared to 302 condo units are being proposed, and feel more focus should be placed on townhomes versus condos, as that is what the demand is for right now in our area. The inclusion of 102 rental units will hopefully assist with our rental shortage, provided they are affordable and reflect area rental rates. As previously mentioned, I am slightly confused about the site-specific provision to allow dwelling units above the main floor commercial, as this is found nowhere within the development's design plans or related studies. Is this exemption to allow for one additional story on one or both of the commercial buildings? Or is it anticipated that these two will become 6-story buildings right along Main Street? Has the inclusion for these additional residential units been accounted for in the traffic or parking considerations? In reference to the provision to allow a maximum height of 6 stories, I would ask, where in our community do we have any existing 6-story buildings? The urban design study, as submitted by the developer, quotes the town's official plan policy that indicates in part that the town shall ensure that new development is designed in keeping with the traditional character of the town in a manner that preserves the traditional community image and enhances a sense of place, promote improvement of the physical character, appearance, and safety of the town in neighborhoods and throughout the public realm, including streetscape, civic spaces, and parks, encourage tree retention and tree planting and replacement, and ensure new development incorporates low-impact design. The proposal for 6 6-story buildings, 8 buildings, if it's proposed that the commercial units become 6 stories as well, in my opinion, does not coincide with this policy statement to ensure that new development is designed in keeping with the traditional character of the town in a manner that preserves the traditional community image. Not only does the size of the proposed condo and rental buildings not fit within our community, but the proposed modern design of the building itself does not reflect the character and charm you currently find throughout our historic community. Where in the study is it outlined that there is a demand for 300+ condo units in our area? And will the modern design of the building appeal to people looking to move to our historic community? The town's official plan has policies 3.3 and 3.4 that includes measures to ensure that permitted uses address compatibility with adjacent land uses, including separation distance, buffering, or screening, and indicates that infill development should be compatibly scaled and designed to enhance the character of the area. The urban design study states the low to mid-rise scale of the proposed development is compatible with the character of the existing area. Transitions to adjacent low-rise residential areas are provided through the proposed setbacks and landscape buffers. How are 6 6-story buildings compatible in scale and design with the existing residential single-family subdivision or the existing single-story commercial units within the immediate area? In addition, I was unable to locate any precise details within the report and studies of what setbacks and landscaping buffers are going to be proposed specifically between the commercial area and the existing and new residential areas. A small retaining wall in one design and some minimal tree planting in the landscape design were the only reference I was able to locate. And I would suggest that is not sufficient to provide enough of a barrier to combat noise and light pollution that will be generated from the commercial parking area portion of the development. The land use compatibility and air quality study indicates minimal north winds. I can assure you north winds in Penetanguishene are not minimal. And since the southern development parcel has been cleared earlier this year of all existing vegetation, including the evergreens, the wind impact to my property has been significant already. A small retaining wall is not going to minimize this impact, whereas a solid constructed boundary fence and replanting of evergreens will. In addition, a fence constructed of a solid material, pressure-treated, composite, or other similar material versus a chain link barrier would also help minimize the visual impact of traffic and headlights into the adjacent residential properties to the south and west of the commercial development. With respect to the development itself, my biggest concern is in regards to traffic safety and the impact the development will have on traffic flow along Main Street and County Road 93. I have read the transportation impact study. However, it was limited to various intersections that may be affected and did not take into consideration the traffic coming into town in general along County Road 93. Traveling north into Penetanguishene, there are little to no streetlights, and speed is an issue from the roundabout to the intersection of Thompson Road. There have been numerous accidents at the intersection of Thompson and Main since the Thompson Road extension has opened. The increase in traffic flow, which will now be turning left on Thompson Road, could potentially create an unsafe situation when traffic speeding into town encounter a lineup of vehicles waiting to turn at the intersection. Consultation with the county for the placement of additional lighting and signage along County Road 93 should be considered to improve safety. It is good to see that the entrance and exit onto Main Street from the commercial development will be right turn only. However, given the proposed entrance from Main will be located directly beside an existing residence, has any consideration been given to the impact on this residential property with an entrance so close to their home and driveway, along with the other driveways that already have obstructive views when exiting onto County Road 93? And lastly, do we have the infrastructure and services to accommodate the significant influx of residents this development could bring? I question the demand for the number of proposed commercial units when existing commercial units, including one with a drive-through, remain vacant. In terms of residential, I question the demand for the number of proposed condos versus townhomes, along with a proposed modern design of the development as a whole and how it will fit in with our historic Penetanguishene. In closing, I want to reiterate that I am not opposed to this development or the general growth of our town. I only ask that consideration be given how this proposal will impact and how it will coincide with our existing community, and that the development is done in a manner that reflects our current community heritage and culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'll ask if there's anyone else that would like to address council regarding this matter. Emily, is there anyone online that would like to comment on this application? No. So I'll ask one more time, if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to make comments on the application based on land use planning issues relevant to this application, I'll ask that you please state your name and address for the record and make your way to the podium. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask if there's any concluding comments by our agent, by the applicant.
Hello, just confirming everyone can hear me?
We can.
Great, thank you. Yes, thank you for raising those issues and concerns. We really appreciate the feedback. I just wanted to disclose that I am joined by a few members of our consultant team this evening, including our architect and Crozier Engineering. So I think, just generally speaking, again, we're grateful for the comments. We did take a master plan approach to this application, initially just starting off with the official plan amendment and then going in with a combined application on the recommendation of staff. So, we have consulted, previously at a developer-led meeting. I personally was not present there, but, many people in the room here with me were. And at that point, they shared initial designs with the community, heard that feedback, and that was back in February. So, with regards to, having more engagement with the business community, with residents, there's obviously a commercial plaza being proposed in this space, as well as a standalone retail. And I think that there's a great opportunity to connect with the business community and see if there's opportunities to partner or work with them moving forward. So we're more than happy to connect with people on that piece. This is our first submission. We are still waiting on staff's comments. Obviously, tonight's meeting is very important, and we do take those comments seriously. So again, thank you for raising them. I am going to turn it to Julie Scott from Crozier to speak on the transportation piece as well as the servicing piece.
Thank you. And thank you very much for those comments, just reiterating what Mishi said.
Regarding... I just ask if you can turn your camera on for us, please.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me just find the button for it. Okay. Here we go. Turning to Julie.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks. Regarding the transportation comments, thank you for those. We do acknowledge that there was a typo in the one report about the number of units. It strictly was just a typo, and the number of units that were used was based off the report, based off the plan that was submitted with this application. Regarding the comment about traffic safety is a consideration that can be taken up with county staff, so it's definitely something we can look into. And we did suggest monitoring the lane configuration at the intersection, given a shared left/through. That's regarding transportation. Regarding the overall infrastructure to support this development, the development will be done in 3 phases, as was outlined in the presentation. So the first phase is actually going to be able to be supported by the existing infrastructure that is there today. There will be requirements, there will be upgrades required to the sanitary and water public infrastructure to support the future phases. So we have looked into all of that, and we have an understanding of under what phases the existing infrastructure works and what phases the infrastructure needs to be upgraded at.
Okay, thank you very much. Would that conclude your comments this evening?
Yes, it will, unless there's additional comments or questions from council.
Thank you very much. Just for everyone's intent, this is your opportunity to bring up questions. There's still lots of work to be done on the file. Later in the agenda, council will have a motion before them to ask staff to bring this back at a future meeting to bring comments and questions and bring a staff report forward. So we're going to conclude this public meeting, and I'll thank everyone for your attendance and participation regarding this item of the public meeting. We're going to move on now, council, to 9B and 9C. We have a public meeting regarding 2 items regarding a holding symbol. We're going to put those together tonight. So here we go. This is a public meeting tonight under Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider lifting the holding H symbols for the properties at 57 MacArthur Drive and 88 Wozniak Road. Andrew, I'm going to ask that you please introduce the applications, confirm if notification was made. Can you please note any correspondence received, and can you please outline the proposal for us, please?
Yes, thank you again, Your Worship, members of council. So both of these applications were received on October 1st, and tonight's notice of tonight's public meeting was given on October 23rd. The applications are technical applications under the Planning Act in that there is no land use change. The lifting of the holding symbol is a request to that has met a technical requirement confirming that the property can be appropriately developed and serviced with private services. And so that information was supplied to the municipality and confirmed by our chief building official. So with tonight's public meeting, notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act, as well as posted on the town's website and with the town's planning notice requirements. We received correspondence from Bell and Enbridge on both applications only. And that's all the comments we've received. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And just for clarity, the applicant, there's no one to make a presentation to represent the properties?
No, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask anyone in the audience if you wish to make any comments on the application based on land use planning issues relevant to this application. I'd ask they make your way to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, please. Emily, is there anyone online that would like to participate in this public meeting? And I'll ask again if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to make comments on the application based on land use planning issues relevant to the application. I'd ask you to make your way to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, please. Okay, we're going to move on. Our applicant's not here, and with no further comments, I'm going to thank you for your attendance and participation in this public meeting. I am going to close this, and again, later in the agenda, we'll have a motion that will bring this forward at a future meeting. Moving on, 10 is our delegations and presentations. We have 2 this evening. Our first one's a presentation from the Canadian Museum of Water. I'm going to invite Fred to the podium, and just for all of our purpose, our delegations are limited to 10 minutes, please. The floor is yours. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ross and members of council and staff. ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fred Addis. I live over in Ormondonti in Simcoe County, and as a director of the Canadian Museum of Water, it's my pleasure to speak to you for a few minutes tonight, along with my colleague Basil Lafreniere from the Georgian Bay Heritage League. Over the last few months, we have met with various members of town leadership and have communicated our business plan, which would see both organizations establish a footprint in the town of Penetanguishene. The Canadian Museum of Water was incorporated in July of 2022 and is in fact a virtual museum and is one of over 100 water museums worldwide and the only one in Canada. And I should say a number of those 100 museums are also digital or virtual museums. Collectively, we exist within an international network called WAMUNet under the banner of UNESCO. Our focus is simple. We want to establish a bricks and mortar Canadian Museum of Water and Georgian Bay Heritage League Museum here in the town of Penetanguishene, and we think two things particularly make that an attractive proposition for the town. Firstly, our business plan and programs align perfectly with the town's strategic plan. And secondly, we believe that almost every level of government will be committing funding for water education, monitoring, and research. Our plan begs the simple question, why not spend it here? Why not spend it in the town of Penetanguishene? To illustrate what we're about and why the message of water is so important, we've brought along a short video called The Water We Want. It's one small piece of our reimagining of water and the culture of water in contemporary life. Emily?
families has launched a to express themselves. Letting the world know water and in spite of the difficult constraints due to the people from 6 to 18 presented so what did the younger generation tell us? As well as the water they want. Inspired posters also appears water they don't want. They are showing us the way to the future we must go. Let's give these young pastors a chance to express their vision.
Thank you, Emily. That just illustrates one of the programs we're interested in presenting. Oh, that sounds like. We have circulated our business plan with council, and those are also available shortly online. This is an organic document that we've been working on for almost 18 months, and it identifies specific programs and activities that we'd like to undertake, but at the same time is wide open in terms of our ability to enact them locally. One of the best things that we think we can bring to the table is to provide a truly global lens for water issues that are specific to Penetanguishene, specific to Simcoe County, province of Ontario, and federally. So we think there are many great advantages here. And as I said, based on your strategic plan, there's some real symmetry. So that's all I'm going to talk about. At this point, I'd like to introduce our good friend Basil Lafreniere from the Georgian Bay Heritage League is going to tell you a little bit about the program he envisions and why we make a good partnership. Basil, over to you.
Thank you for having me. I'm the president of the Georgian Bay Heritage League. I'm also a Métis citizen and I live at Thunder Beach. So the Georgian Bay Heritage League for years have been collecting antique boats built in Penetang Harbor and in the surrounding area. So they've donated boats to us, we've bought boats, but we have a massive collection of boats that years ago were built. The people that were building these boats were Métis citizens in Penetang Harbor and Midland Harbor. They were building these boats. So there's a big tie into the Métis culture in the area. So my vision is that we have collected history in this area for years. And we worked on boats, a group of us, and there's been many different partners in working on boats. A lot of different people have died off. A lot of people have gotten too old to do it. We keep the tradition going. And the reason we keep the tradition going, two things. We love wooden boats. We love the history of the boats. And nothing rides like a wooden boat. So that's us. And some of us get away from the whys by working on a boat, but that's not the main reason. So when I became president of the club, I was asked what was my vision for the club. For years, the club worked on boats and we never showed the boats. We never took them out. We finished them, we put them away. We finished them, we put them away. And at one point, we had to give rid of boats because the club could not afford to store the boats. So when I came into the picture, I made a promise to myself that when we finish a boat, it's going indoors. So what I'm asking the town of Penetang, we have the history, we worked on it for years to accumulate this history of boat building in Penetang. So we have the Gidleys, we have the Norse, we have the Grews, we have Midland Boat Company. And this is just some of the boats that we have. If I can hold this up. We go from Meaford to Honey Harbor.
Basil, just say you go to the mic if you can though, please, because we are live stream, just so everyone can hear
I'll bring
you.
it over here. So if you can see the board, so we've got Cliff Richardson, Gidley, Grew, Midland Boat Company, Norse, Seabird, and Watts Boats. So what I did 2 years ago, we started working on a traveling museum to bring the boats to the towns. And it's been a great big success for the kids to see these boats, parents see these boats, and people have come to us and said, I used to have a boat like that. My grandfather had a boat like that. So we have a collection of boats and history of all these boats. We're looking for a place to bring it. So me, when I was a young kid at Thunder Beach, the place we went shopping was Penetang. We didn't go to Midland. We just came to Penetang. So I would like to see the history of boats of Penetang back into the Penetang area. So we've worked on these things for years, and we'd like to, and we started a kids program. We're going to start it in January, bringing kids into the workshop and working on a 1908 Gidley boat for the restoration. So you have the Peterborough Museum, which is a canoe museum that brings people from all over to this museum. Then you have the Gravenhurst Museum on the waterfront that brings tons of people to it. So I think Penetang needs a big win and needs a marine museum on this waterfront so we can show off to the Muskokas what Penetang built here. That's all I got to say.
Basil and Fred, I want to thank you both for your presentations tonight, and to your collective groups. Lots of volunteer time and volunteerism and building what you're passionate about. So thank you. I've had the privilege to have audience with you, and I think you're doing tremendous and commendable work. So thank you. Council, any comments or questions for either of our presenters? Okay, thank you. Just so then we can set the stage, appreciate the presentation and the ask. Later in our meeting tonight, we're going to have another meeting called Committee of the Whole. I'm hopeful one of my colleagues are going to ask that we add a referral at a meeting. Let's get some more information from staff. If not, I'll probably bring that forward. And we'll ask staff to bring forward some recommendations that council can deliberate on a future date. Thank you very much for your participation. All right, council, we're going to move on. Our next item here is adoption minutes not already confirmed. I have a motion that reads that the following minutes of council meetings be confirmed and adopted as circulated. We have special council for October the 9th, 2024. And we have council for October the 9th, 2024. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Councillor, our next item is regarding our consent agenda number 12. Before I read this motion, does anybody want to pull them for further discussion or debate? Seeing none. The motion reads that the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. Again, we have two items, one regarding a memo from the Director of Human Resources regarding OMERS enrollment for non-full-time volunteer firefighters. Second, a memo from our Director of Legislative Services or Municipal Clerk regarding our 2025 Council and Committee of the Whole meeting calendar, moved by Deputy Mayor LaRose, seconded by Councillor Vadabonker. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 13 matters for consideration. 13A is regarding our open meeting a while ago, our public meeting. I have a motion that reads that the background to the public meeting report PL-2024-53 for the official plan amendment file number OPA 2024-01 and zoning bylaw amendment file number ZA9-2024 for 200 Main Street and 35 Thompson Road West be received. And that any matters identified in report PL-2024-53 and at the public meeting be addressed in a future report to the Committee of the Whole. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Waters, seconded by Deputy Mayor LaRose. Comments or questions? Councillor Vadabonker.
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple of things that I noticed in the material. One of them had to do with that intermittent waterway that's shown on the plan. I'd like a little more information on that when that comes back to council with respect to how that's being accommodated. The second point was in the change in the grades. The grade of the property at Main Street or just in behind Main Street sloping downward toward Thompson Road. Or not Thompson Road, but the bottom of the hill there. I'm just curious how the site works with respect to the change in the grades. It wasn't clear on the concept plans that were provided as part of the presentation. So I'd be curious to know how the grades work on the property when it comes back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Veta-Bunker. I'll turn it to Director Betty. Councillor Veta-Bunker's inquiry is clear for inclusion in a future report back. Thank you very much. Council, any further comments or questions? Madam Clerk, I had a small little moment. I do have a mover and seconder. Very good. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed, and that is carried. Thank you, everyone, for your support on that. 13B, regarding removing the holding symbol for 57 MacArthur, we have a motion that reads the zoning bylaw amendment ZA 10-2024 to remove the holding provision for the property municipally known as 57 MacArthur Drive be approved, and that a bylaw be passed to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2022-17 to enact ZA 10-2024. I'm going to look for a mover. Deputy Mayor LaRose, second by Councillor DeRush. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. 13C is regarding our holding symbol for 88 Wozniak Road. Report is PL 2024-56. The motion reads that zoning bylaw amendment ZA 11-2024 to remove the holding provision for the property municipally known as 88 Wozniak Road be approved, and that a bylaw be passed to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw 2022-17 to enact ZA 11-024. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Waters, second by Councillor Marchand. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 13D is regarding Harbor Point Subdivision Phase 4 Base Asphalt Initial Acceptance File ZNG 2024-20. Motion is that the initial acceptance of the base asphalt within Phase 4 of the Harbor Point Subdivision be approved. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Veta-Bunker, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Just your hand. 13E is regarding board and committee appointments. A tough crowd tonight, CLEs. Right? Maybe we'll move the chair to the deputy and make things roll easier. What do you think? Okay, we'll be calm. Okay, here we go. Board and committee appointments regarding Summer Cultural Festival Ad Hoc Committee. That council approved the following appointments to the Summer Cultural Festival Ad Hoc Committee. Tina Ann Thibodeau, Tamaris Yakimishin, Brianne Harris, Alana Brasso, Irene Ashworth, Irene Lau, and Greg Garrett. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, seconder. Councillor DeRush. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. We're not usually this comical, but tonight we're pretty comical up here. Okay. 14 is our presentations and consideration of the report from Committee of the Whole. So just for everyone's purpose, we meet as council. After council, we move into Committee of the Whole. What we're now going to discuss is what we discussed last month. And this is the opportunity for council to pull up for their discussion, debate, revisions, or we'll adopt them as presented. All right, I'm going to ask Councillor Veta-Bunker regarding our Transportation Environmental Services section report, please, sir.
Thank you, Worship. Transportation Environmental Services section recommended that council receive 3 consent agenda items. There were 2 sets of transit meeting minutes, and there was a memo pertaining to the Township of Tiny HUSEF grant application for the Township of Midland septage receiving facility. There was 1 matter for consideration, and section is recommending that council adopt the 2024 Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan. 1 referral item came off the list and 1 referral remains, and there were no new referrals added at the meeting. Your Worship, that concludes my report, and I ask for council's support.
Thank you very much, Councillor Veta-Bunker. So we have a motion that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to Transportation Environmental Services section be approved. It's moved by Councillor Veta-Bunker. It's seconded by Councillor Waters. Further comments and questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Deputy Mayor LaRose for Recreation and Community Services section, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're filling in for our esteemed Councillor Doug LaRue, who is just not able to make it here tonight. So we'll get through it. Section, we had 3 consent agenda items, and they were the Museum and Heritage Committee meeting minutes from June 13th and August 15th. The second one was the Library Board minutes from June 24th. And the third one was from the Wellbeing and Accessibility Committee meeting minutes from July 11th. We also had 2 items for consideration, which were the flag raising and Gateway Angel theme lighting policy, RCS 2024-18, and a Winterama committee update. And we had 1 new referral, and that was for the skate park review. So with that, Your Worship, we'll ask for council's consideration.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. We have a motion that the recommendations contained with the committee of the whole report related to Recreation Community Services section be approved. It's moved by the Deputy Mayor. It's seconded by Councillor Waters. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor DeRush for Planning and Development Services section, please.
The Planning and Development Services section had 5 consent agenda items. The first was a memo from the Director of Planning and Community Development regarding an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment for 200 Main Street. The second was a memo from the planner regarding a proposed regulation for additional residential units. The third was a third quarter 2024 update regarding development activities in the town. The fourth was the Municipal Law Enforcement September Activity Report. And the last was support options presented by the Huronia Community Foundation. It was recommended that all of these items be received for information. The section had a matter for consideration, and it was an update to the town's sign bylaw. It was recommended that the amendments be approved as presented. On behalf of the section, I ask that council approve the recommendations as presented.
Thank you very much, Councillor DeRush. The motion reads that the recommendations contained within the committee of the whole report related to Planning and Development Services section be approved. It's moved by Councillor DeRush. It's seconded by Councillor Waters. Further comments or questions? We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor Marchand, Finance and Corporate Services section, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. For Finance and Corporate Services, on the consent agenda side of things, we had 1 item. We had the Q3 financial report, which was accepted. The next, under matters for consideration, we had 3 items that were brought forward. The 2025 fee and charges changes, the 2025 Council and Committee of the Whole meeting calendar, and finally, the multi-year 2024 to 2026 accessibility plan. In terms of items for consideration, there were no new items added or removed.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marchand. The motion reads that the recommendations contained within the committee of the whole report related to Finance and Corporate Services section be approved. It's moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Waters. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Moving on to 15A is regarding presentation consideration of reports for special committee. Just for all of us, we'll leave polling and further discussion and debate from budget to our next budget special committee that we'll have in the future. So this isn't a night that we'll debate further budget. So again, we'll bring it to a future committee of the whole. We have a motion that the recommendations contained within the special committee of the whole, budget draft number 1 related to Finance and Corporate Services section be approved. I'm going to look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Vadabankur. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 16, regarding motions of which notice has previously been given, we have none. 17, notice of motion. Any members of council have to present a notice of motion? Seeing none. 18 is regarding consideration of bylaws. Before I read our bylaws, council, anybody want to pull them for further discussion? Okay. The motion reads that the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw 2024-50, a bylaw to establish and approve the fees and charges of the Town of Penetanguishene. Bylaw 2024-51 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2013-86 to regulate or prohibit signs or other advertising devices. Bylaw 2024-52 being a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2022-17 of the Corporation Town of Penetanguishene. Bylaw 2024-53 being a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2022-17 of the Corporation Town of Penetanguishene. Bylaw 2024-54, a bylaw to amend to appoint municipal law enforcement officers for the Town of Penetanguishene. Bylaw 2024-55 being a bylaw to establish the rates of remuneration to non-union staff of the Corporation Town of Penetanguishene and repeal bylaw 2019-19, and that the bylaws be read a first time, deemed to be read a second and third time, and carried. I look for a mover. Deputy Mayor LaRose, seconded by Councillor Waters. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. So I've mentioned this probably 23 times now. The mayor and deputy mayor represent the town of Penetanguishene at the County of Simcoe. And we like to report back to our residents what we're doing at the County of Simcoe. And the deputy mayor provides those updates. So lots have been happening at the County of Simcoe, and I'm sure the deputy is going to keep us up to date, specifically around even some stuff that the warden shared with our constituents online. So Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. At the county back in October the 22nd, Basil Clark was acclaimed as our Simcoe County Warden. As well, Jennifer Coughlin was acclaimed as our Deputy Warden. So they will both be serving a second term, which brings them to the end of our municipal term. The week after that, we had a special first draft of our budget, which came in at approximately a 4% increase. So they do the same system as we do here. We start with the first draft and we work on to the second and third and carry on. So yesterday, that brings us up to yesterday's meeting, where we did some minor tweaks to the budget. And with minor tweaks, that means about an hour of conversations going back and forth. And it's a pretty big deal to get anything changed down there, but it does work. So our new increase comes back in at 3.625. That's how finite we are already. And so it is now ready for ratification. The only other thing I wanted to remind everybody is that our new medical priority dispatch system that's coming on for the county starts tomorrow. So anybody calling 911 will be under the new system starting then. With that, Your Worship, we'll leave it at that.
Any members of council, comments or questions for Deputy Mayor? All right, moving on. Number 20 is our announcements and inquiries. Any members of council have any announcements or inquiries? Councillor Marshall.
Just want to make a quick announcement to share that next Thursday evening, November 21st, is Christmas on the Hill here in Penetanguishene. So come out and support our local organizations, and it also is the kickoff to First Light as well that will be going on at St. Marie among the Hurons and the Martyr Shrine. So just wanted to shout out those two things, but come out and support Christmas on the Hill here in Penetanguishene for our local merchants.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. Councillor Vadabonker.
Thank you, Worship. In the same theme, I asked for the date of our Festival of Lights when our Christmas tree lighting ceremony takes place, and calendars fill up quickly this time of year. So just for everybody's benefit, it's Friday, December 6th from 5 until 7:30, and the Christmas tree lighting takes place at 5:30 precisely. There's a number of activities at the museum, including a fire pit and free hot chocolate and music and face painting. So there's lots of activities that evening, and it's one of the free community events that's provided by our staff, cooperation with the museum. So mark that in your calendars, because I already know we have another item that evening as well. So it's going to be a busy time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vadabonker. Any other members, announcements or inquiries? COEs, announcements or inquiries on behalf of administration. Deputy Mayor LaRose already mentioned. Councillor Roux is not with us tonight. He has confirmed he plans on being at our next meeting, but on behalf of all of us, our thoughts and best wishes with him as he heals. Moving on, confirmation bylaw. I have a motion that the confirmation bylaw 2024-56 be signed and sealed by the Mayor and Clerks. Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Vadabonker. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Looking for a motion to adjourn at 8:12 by Councillor Waters and Councillor DeRush. All in favor? And we're adjourned at 8:12. We'll be back in 10 minutes for Committee of the Whole. Thank you. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to call our committee of the whole to order for Wednesday, November the 13th, 2024 at 8:22 p.m. I have approved of the agenda. It's recommended that the committee of the whole agenda for November the 13th, 2024 be approved as presented. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Vadabonker. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Do any members of council have any declaration of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none. We'll move on to number 4 is our presentations and delegations. We have a presentation from Georgian Bay General Hospital. The floor is yours. And welcome and thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having us. My name is Jen Russell. I am the Director of Communications and Engagement with the Georgian Bay General Hospital Foundation. With me, of course, is Matt Lawson, President and CEO of GBGH. As you probably know, GBGH is vital to our community and support for the hospital is deeply important. Today, we're here just to give you an update on what's happening at the hospital and how the support from the community is really having an impact. If you go to the next slide. So the town of Penetanguishene has long-standing been a wonderful partner of our hospital. We are so grateful for the investments that the town has made over many years to enhance services and to ensure excellent care for every patient. Over the past 21 years, the town of Penetanguishene has invested more than $238,000, and that has gone to update equipment in our emergency department, diagnostic imaging, laboratory services, equipment and technology for our patient units, and also our physician recruitment. So that's my little note of thanks. I'm going to turn it over to Matt to really give you an update on some things that are happening at the hospital in the near future.
For the next slide, please. So always think it's important to ground the community members of council in a little bit about GBGH. So we operate approximately an $80 million annual budget. We have approximately 1,100 staff, physicians, volunteers that work with us. We call them the GBGH crew. Last year, we saw 42,000 emergency department visits, which is approximately the size that emergency department was built for less than 10 years ago. So that was supposed to carry us for the next 25, 30 years, and we've now reached that number. Of those 40,000 emergency department visits, just under 8,000 of those were from residents of Penetanguishene. So we do certainly carry a significant amount of the activity from the community, with 78% of individuals that had an emergency department from Penetanguishene ended up at GBGH. So that is something that, we really do think it's important as a hospital that our community members do get opportunity to have care closer to home and that they get to experience the wonderful environment at Georgian Bay General Hospital. If we go to the next one, the picture on the right changes every day because it's outside my office and I can hear it truly. But GBGH is actively working through building an expansion onto our existing hospital for an MRI suite. So GBGH was one of 27 additional MRIs approved across the province for construction. So that construction is entirely the responsibility of the hospital, the community through the foundation, thanks to generous support through many community organizations, community members, as well as the County of Simcoe, who has been a very large supporter of this. This project is on track to be completed and delivering care in early 2025. So this MRI is pretty critical for us as right now the experience for individuals from North Simcoe is that they actually have to get in a car, travel to Aurelia, Barrie, and sometimes Newmarket for MRI services. And by adding it here, what that will mean is obviously shorter drive times for individuals, but in addition to that, there will also be reduced wait times, not only locally here, but we'll also be reducing the wait times for MRI services across Simcoe, Muskoka, because we'll reduce that burden on those other organizations that are having many individuals come to their community. Construction on this began in early summer. We're on track to have everything completed in early 2025 and hoping to have our first patient in there going through MRI services as soon as we can. Initially, we're looking at ramping up slowly, but the intent is that we will have enough operating hours to mean that essentially very few residents of North Simcoe will have to travel for MRI services. And we are really looking forward to bringing that service here. locally. We've recruited a number of staff already. We have some highly specialized radiologists that are already working in MRI technology. And I know, speaking with individuals throughout this summer and last summer, some of the services we're adding, currently individuals have to travel as far as Toronto for and experience month-long waits. Often 6+ months for cardiac MRIs or high-risk breast cancer MRIs, things like that, that we'll be able to offer here locally in our community. So certainly very exciting from that perspective, and excited for what that's going to mean in terms of transforming the care we receive locally. If we go to the next one, surgical activity, this has been, I would say, a very hot button topic across the province's wait times for access to surgery. GBGH has actually taken a very different approach. We have ramped up our surgery to a point where we're averaging about 150% of the activity we did pre-COVID. And the way we're achieving that is by bringing in specialized surgeons from other communities and having them come use our operating room here, our perioperative nurses working with them closely here. And instead of 15 individuals from North Simcoe having to travel to Collingwood or Barrie and Orillia, we have the surgeon travel to us. We give them the operating room and they work very closely with us. So it's been an effective partnership to reduce the wait times for individuals looking for surgery. And we know that there's a significant challenge with local access to surgery, with nearly 40% of individuals who need surgery that could be performed here locally in Simcoe County actually having to leave Simcoe County for surgery. They choose to leave either via referrals to other centers. So GBGH really wants to work through that and make sure that we have individuals coming back to our community, especially with some of the really leading surgeons that we have that can offer a number of services. So we've certainly made a concerted effort to bring this here, and that's been achieved through a number of things with our foundation and buying the necessary equipment. So previously we bought what was called a C-arm that allows us to do a very complicated procedure called ERCP. I could not spell everything that is in ERCP if I said the full name. But it's really important in terms of bile duct and liver diagnosis. We have a specialized surgeon who has a special fellowship in this. She's been trained for years on this, and it's really allowed us to help maintain some really advanced services here locally. This year, our foundation's actively working on a urology laser, so then we can have our own additional local urologists to support individuals from that perspective. And that piece of equipment alone is a $300,000 laser. So those are the types of things that we continue to make sure are priorities, making sure that we are actively working with our family physicians for referrals, making sure our community knows about what's available in our community. We go to the next one. This is a newer one, and this one came out of a true opportunity where we've realized and learned that our community has some of the lower screening rates for breast screening for the Ontario Breast Screening Program. We were actually the only hospital in Simcoe, Muskoka without a mammography program. And we've had a few donors that have been very active in supporting us bring these services here locally. So we anticipate opening a mammography program sometime in 2025. And that program will mean that, again, individuals will have access to digital mammography here locally. And the way that we've really tried to approach this, especially with the screening rate, the age going from 50 down to 40, is offering that opportunity here locally in I would say, a much warmer setting, a setting that will allow individuals to have their radiologist meet with them if there's anything of concern, and also have their follow-up high-risk MRI here locally if required. So this is something that has been a growing priority for us, and we've heard tremendous support from the community about what it's going to mean, and trying to look at how we can make this more convenient, especially for individuals, either in terms of the time for booking, when we're offering appointments, making this not just, your Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 type situation. There are lots of individuals who need mammography that would prefer after hours or weekend, different options. So we are looking at how we can do this a little bit differently, and actively working with our foundation to raise the funds to buy this equipment and make sure that we have it. Just the actual mammography unit alone is $750,000. That does not include the space that it requires around it. These are very expensive units to buy, and something that is really critical to have early detection of breast cancer, and certainly something that I know is something we're seeing, unfortunately, a rise of in our community in terms of detecting some of these cases far too late, and that causes a difference in the treatment path. And the next one, next slide, please, is just around community mental health. So it's important for people to understand that we are facing a pretty large crisis with mental health in our community. When I speak with individuals within the provincial government and others, I have to remind them that the rate of mental health in Penetanguishene and Midland actually is 2 to 3 times the rate that they experience in Toronto when you do it on a population adjusted basis. And that's a really important factor, and making sure that we have timely access to mental health care is really important. GBGH has actively worked with Ontario Health. They have asked us to put a proposal forward that would have us add additional bedded capacity, outpatient programming, etc. As we know, approximately half the individuals that come to the GBGH emergency department for mental health also have an acute illness. So somebody has a medical illness, but are also suffering from severe depression or suicidal ideations. We want to make sure that we provide a safe space to treat them. And that's a huge priority for us. The proposed expansion, if we go to the next one, is actually built on the back of the existing hospital, so along Highway 93. And the easiest way for me to explain this is it essentially starts to build a bridge from our existing hospital connected to our emergency department towards a future hospital. That programming is, roughly 50,000 square feet, includes 24 inpatient beds. That includes specialized beds for geriatric mental health, which we know, given the demographics in our community, we have an older population, that we are experiencing a number of individuals that have that severe dementia and delirium that causes a number of complexities. And we need to have the supports in our community to deliver on this. So GBGH is actively working with the provincial government to make sure that this is a priority, and have received numerous letters of support to continue our work on this, again, to bringing this service to our local community. And Simcoe County and Muskoka is unique around mental health in that all the hospitals actually work together already, and GBGH would be part of that, and that it's kind of the next person up. So if there's a bed available in Orillia or Barrie or at Waypoint, if there's a person sitting in Collingwood that's been waiting 100 hours, which is not uncommon, they go to the next available bed. So GBGH will not only be able to help address the wait times and get people care closer to home in our community, but also sooner across Simcoe, Muskoka. And that's quite unique across the province, in that the hospitals are working very collectively to reduce how long individuals are sitting in the emergency department. But that being said, there are many days where we have individuals sitting for up to 100 hours in essentially an 8x8 white room with an exam bed. And it is not the best space to receive care, and it's certainly not ideal having them delay access to psychiatry. So it's an ongoing priority for us, and it's something you'll continue to hear me speak about in many forums. And then if we go to the next one, on the right, I'll maybe flag just the idea of what that future hospital potentially looks like. I always call it 2030X. I don't know when. I couldn't give you a year. I couldn't give you an amount. What I can tell you in broad perspective is that we have received support from our plan for a future hospital sometime in the future, and it essentially doubles the services within our community. So we go from 2 operating rooms to 4. We would add important services like satellite chemotherapy. So being part of the regional cancer program and having chemotherapy here locally, we would add specialized services such as interventional radiology and a number of other specialized things in our community. The actual footprint of the building triples. We get closer to 350,000 square feet when you catch up with what the current CSA standards are for the size of certain building elements. So a patient room today at GBGH, built in 1976, is about half the size of what is needed in a new hospital that we've built to current standards. So we are excited to continue to work on this, and we are actively working with the town of Midland on a planning application. We've done an environmental impact assessment. We've done an archaeological studies on the adjacent land to us that our foundation owns, and are really working actively to putting that proposal in front of provincial government in the future, with mental health being the first step and a bridge towards this new hospital. So I will pause there and turn it back over to Jen.
I'll just quickly take you through some of the impact side of things on how the community's really stepped up in the last year to support the hospital. The community is always funding vital equipment and technology, and the equipment is essential to ensuring the teams can provide excellent care. These are just some examples of what the community has supported this past year. A third modern ultrasound machine, which we now have 3, which is decreasing wait times and really providing that service, making it available to more than 10,000 patients in our community every year. A complete renovation to X-ray rooms. So obviously our diagnostic imaging department is getting a whole lot of love and attention these days. But we've replaced the 20-year-old technology that was existing there. So there's 2 new rooms there. And also surgical tables. As Matt mentioned, investing in new technology also means that we have to keep the rest of those operating rooms up to standard. And in order to operate that C-arm, we needed to have new surgical tables. So there's just some of the examples of how the community has impacted in the past year. And then on the next one, you'll see some of the things that we're investing in this year. On top of the urology program that Matt mentioned, there's also things within our laboratory, patient beds. It's funny that over time, they deteriorate, but they're needed across the entire organization. That's where people are spending the majority of their time when they are receiving care, and having comfortable mattresses that aren't outdated is really, really critical. And ones that are the right size and shape for the variety of sizes and shapes of patients that we're seeing. Medication dispensing, obviously, as the hospital grows and we see more capacity, needing to make sure that we have safe medication dispensing in all areas of the hospital is really important. So those are just some examples on top of course, the MRI project that we're finishing off. On the next one, just a quick little preview for you. In the next 5 years, the foundation will be launching a capital campaign to raise $20 million to fund the things that Matt was mentioning: mental health, MRI, mammography, and obviously all this equipment that we're funding. It's called We See You, Inside and Out. It's really speaking to the fact that the hospital teams see every patient that comes in through the doors. We see them waiting, we see them suffering with their mental health challenges, the hopelessness that they're feeling, and it's our way of addressing, how we can see them back. Our community sees the hospital through the investment and through providing those tools and the equipment that we need to provide that care. And it's really all about the community all coming together to strengthen our hospital, to ensure it's there for everyone who needs us. Last thing we'll just say, we're obviously looking for the community to continue to support. We've heard about all the different projects that are on the horizon. The foundation is obviously working and looking at other communities and how they're going about funding some of these great transformations. And so we're looking at all the different opportunities and obviously looking for the community to continue to support us that way. So just again, thank you so much for the continued support. Thank you for your time, and you're really making a difference in helping deliver care at the hospital. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both Matt and Jen, for being here tonight and celebrating the success and the plan. And thanks for your leadership for making a strong community hospital and serving our communities. I think it's commendable, and I appreciate what you do. And I can't say enough thank yous. From council, questions for our presenters tonight? Councillor Vadabonker.
Thank you. Just a question on the MRI. I recall it's great news that it's coming to the North Simcoe area. I have many friends and acquaintances that have had to go to far afield, as you were talking about, for MRIs. One of the places was Owen Sound, and it was not uncommon that they would go for an MRI at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just wondering, when this gets up and running, will it be running 24 hours?
So our official funding letter from the Ministry of Health has indicated that we'll be funded approximately 2,000 hours a year, which is 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Through conversations with them, I believe that will double. I don't think we'll be seeing any 2 a.m.s anytime soon. With doubling, we should be able to meet the needs of our community. And if not, the hospital will be advocating very closely with provincial government for additional funding to operate at 24/7.
Thank you.
Councillor Marchand.
So just with that, Matt, just for clarity, when I think for council's benefit, when you receive funding letters, it truly is to fund the hours and the people to run it.
Yeah. So MRI funding within the province is on a per hour basis. $250, $260 per hour is the typical funding rate. And that covers the cost of the staff, the machine, the equipment maintenance. I believe the maintenance contract on the MRI is north of $200,000 a year, just to make sure that it's in proper repair. These are very specialized pieces of equipment, and it covers those things. It does not cover any of the capital costs associated with developing the building, the infrastructure, the MRI suite, et cetera. These are essentially the most complicated things you can put in a community hospital from a technology perspective, diagnostics.
Thank you very much. Any other members, any questions? Again, thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing. Thank you. All right, Council, we're going to move on. Number 5 is our council information package. We have 2 packages, one for October the 23rd and one for November 6th. Any members wish to pull them for further comment or questions? Councillor Vadabunker.
Thank you, Worship. Bear with me. I have a couple of comments and a question on both the October 23rd and November 6th. And depending on the response to one of my questions, it may be, may pull it. But I just want to make a comment on item 1B, which was the letter from the Ministry of Finance in response to the delegation at AMO about the heads and beds. Not surprised, but still disappointed. The municipality's been at this for, I would say, at least 25 years, and we'll keep trying. But that's all we can do. It's just, we'll keep at it. The next item is pertaining to item 2A, and this is a question to the CAO with respect to the email that the municipality received from the resident at Water Street, 7 Water, with respect to a fence. And I was just wondering, that came in early October. Has that matter been resolved, or is that something we should pull as council and make it a referral?
See Elise?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Vadabunker, the letter that's received is in response to a position that staff took with respect to enforcing the bylaws. There has not been any response provided to this letter. The suggestion or the option provided to the resident was that they could write a letter that would be presented to Committee of the Whole, and that's what you see here this evening. We'd be happy to take direction from Committee of the Whole if there is any vis-a-vis a referral item, for example. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lees. So on that one, maybe I'll ask that it be pulled and that we vote on that one separately. And my last comment has to do with a notice from the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit in the November 6th council information package. And it was basically a summary of the water testing that was done in Penetanguishene Bay. And it was very interesting. And I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at it in detail. But on August 8th, that was a pretty significant day in Penetanguishene Bay, in that across the 5 sampling stations, the E. coli count was 1,000. And so whatever happened, it must have been a severe thunderstorm or something that just washed everything into the bay. And typically the health unit in this document says that when the E. coli count is over 200, they post an advisory. And if you look at it, you'll see that maybe 1, 2 of the sampling points go over. This one, all 5 was at 1,000 on August 8th. And most of the counts were below 50. So the bay overall is in good shape, but as the deputy mayor would know, some of those, like the odd time combined sewer, it just overflows and gets into the bay, and that's what happens. So it was just interesting read. So I just want to make a comment on that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, any other members, comments or questions on any of the information items in the CIP? Okay, so we'll vote on all of them. We're going to remove 2A out of October 23rd regarding the email from the resident that Councillor Vadabunker addressed. I'll just add a comment to your comment about the Minister of Finance and our delegation at AMO. I agree with you. I think we need to do more. I think we should put our heads together and think about how we can do some advocacy through AMO on doing that. I think let's take some leadership role in that, but we'll bring that forward maybe in referrals or something another time. So our motion is that council information package have been given due consideration, be received for information, minus the one that Councillor Vadabunker has pulled for further discussion. I'll look for a mover. Councillor Marchand, second by Deputy Mayor. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor Vadabunker.
Thank you, Worship. I move that item 2A from the October 23rd council information package dealing with the fence matter on Water Street be referred to staff for review and recommendation. I've only got one side of the story here, so it would be good to have all sides and then be able to deal with it. I'm not sure which section or whatnot, but I'll suggest to leave that with the CAO.
Just to make it clean, CO, do you want to just add this as a referral when we get to that proper section tonight, or do you want to add this here? Just for a clean aspect?
Through your worship, I would suggest that perhaps a referral item under P&D might be an appropriate approach if that's amenable to committee.
Perfect. You okay with that, Councillor Vadabunker? Okay. Seeing there's no other discussion, then we'll deal with that as a referral item. Can I ask that you can add that as like we're going to move this as an item to close this loop? Can I ask that you move that? Second by Deputy Mayor. Thank you. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. I'm going to turn the chair to Councillor Marchand for Transportation Environmental Services section, please. Sorry.
Your worship, sir.
I'm sorry. Councillor Vadabunker, Transportation Environmental Services section.
Thank you, Worship.
I even wrote it down earlier too.
Thank you, Your Worship. So under the Transportation Environmental Services section, we have two consent items. The first is the Midland Penetanguishene Transit Ridership Quarterly Update. And the second is a memo from the Director of Public Works dealing with the Navy Lane Drainage Improvements Project Update. Does anybody want to make a comment or have any one of those items pulled? Councillor Marchand.
Thank you. Just one quick comment. I'm always happy to see the quarterly reports for transit, and it was really great to see that 192 seniors passes have been provided in the last 12 months since we started that free initiative. And so I am really happy to see the ridership continues to be moving in a really positive direction, and warms my heart to see that it's going well and that seniors are taking up that free ridership program. So thank you for that report.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Any other comments? I'll take a second just to make a comment. The Deputy Mayor and I were talking about section about the Navy Lane improvements, and members of council, if you ever get an opportunity to travel to Church Street as just before you enter into the grounds of Waypoint and pause and have a look at the improvements from the top end and look down, it's quite an amazing site, and it was nice to see that it's almost complete. So it's quite a engineering feat, and I know Public Works is quite pleased to have been able to complete that project. So just a comment on that. I'll move the recommendation that the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. May I have a seconder, please? The Deputy Mayor LaRose. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. We have one item for consideration, and that is an update to the snow removal level of service policy. And the recommended action is that the updated snow removal level of service policy be adopted as presented in staff report RDS 2024-20. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder to put it on the floor. Deputy Mayor LaRose and Councillor Drush, and I'll ask if there's any questions or any comments on the policy. Seeing none, okay, it's been duly moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. We have one referral item, and that is the septic disposal and treatment resolution. And that's a report to come forward anytime fourth quarter of 2024. Are there any additional referrals at this point? Yes, Your Worship.
I'd like to see if we could get a staff report to look at getting some line painting at crosswalks. I heard a lot of communication up to Remembrance Day, and Councillor Waters shared one with me about painting our crosswalk on Point Street to Memorial Park to reflect and honor veterans. I've heard from other members of the community how great that would be to be able to do the same thing at other intersections to reflect other demographics of our community, such as our Francophone community, our Indigenous community, and to recognize pride. So I'd like to see if staff could present a report about what this could look like, that staff could use this for consideration at a future time.
Thank you, Worship. Staff, Mr. CAO, do you require any clarity on what the mayor is requesting?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I think we're clear on what the ask is.
Thank you. May I have a seconder for that addition to the referrals? Thank you, Councillor Waters. So moved by His Worship, second by Councillor Waters, that the painting of pedestrian crossings at locations in town be referred to staff, and I'm summarizing here, and report come back at some future date. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. So I'll read the motion again, that the Transportation Environmental Services section endorse the following additional and existing referrals to the upcoming agendas and staff. And I mentioned the septage disposal and treatment resolution. We just added a second referral. Any other matters? Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder. So I don't think I asked for a mover and a seconder that time. Your Worship, and a seconder. Deputy Mayor LaRose, all those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Any questions from the media and the public? Any on the public online there? No. Media? No. Thank you. Your Worship, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you. I'm going to turn the chair to Deputy Mayor LaRose.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
All right.
I didn't say the section. I just said the name.
There you go. Thank you, Your Worship. We have the Rec and Community Services section. We have on our consent agenda, we have 2 items. One is the Museum and Heritage Committee minutes. No. Yep, and the memo from the Director of Recreation and Community Services, a boat tour operation for a smaller vessel. Can I get a mover and a seconder to get on the floor? Moved by Councillor Marchand, second by Councillor Vatabancourt. Do we have any questions, concerns? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. For our matters of considerations, we have 1 item. It's a special event policy update, RCS 2024-19. And the recommended action is that the updated special events policy provided in attachment 1 to staff report RCS 2024 be adopted. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor DeRush. Do we have any concerns, questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, and that is carried. Moving down to C, we have our referrals. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 referrals. Our skate park review, GBCSC Cycle of Hope event, Memorial Pickleball Courts, and a Memorial Opportunity. Does anybody have any of these to add or remove? Seeing, Your Worship.
I was pausing to see if anyone else is going to go. Deputy Mayor, I'd like to see if we can add a referral, and I'll turn to staff. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2. Tonight we had a delegation regarding the Museum of Water and the Georgian Bay Heritage Boat League, and I believe there's been some ask with staff what that could look like. But I'd like to refer that back to staff to get a report on a future. Again, whether it's 1 or 2, I'll leave that to staff.
I had it down in mind. I was going to do it under Finance and General Government, but I don't know what section's appropriate to look at. It doesn't matter. We'll put it on to this one for now, and we'll deal with it if that's all right with council. With that, is there any other additions? Seeing none, it's recommended that the Community and Recreation Community Service section endorse the following additional items and existing referrals to upcoming agendas for staff. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Vadaboncourt. Any questions?
Like the addition?
We can do that. Well, all right, we want to do it separate? We were at it. With the ones that are listed, all in favor? And that is carried. And we have a new referral for the Water Museum and UNESCO Water Park all in one? Or do you want to do them separate?
I think we leave the staff.
Okay, and we'll pick the appropriate section at the time. I don't know if this is the appropriate section.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would suggest that RCS is the appropriate section, so it's appropriate to deal with it here.
Cool. We will put it on. So moved by Mayor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Vadaboncourt that this one be added. Any questions? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. We are down to D, questions from the media and public. Yes, if you wouldn't mind taking the podium.
Members of council, my name's Connie Stewart, and I guess my question is for Councillor Marchand, and I was just wondering what you mean by an opportunity to convert the Memorial Park tennis courts to pickleball courts, like the opportunity to convert what?
Yep. I had put forward that a report come back to council with regards to this. So down at McGuire Park, there's 4 pickleball courts and then a tennis court. So I was looking to convert that second tennis court to 4 pickleball courts for a total of 8.
So where will the tennis courts go? Do you think 2 tennis courts is enough, or?
Again, this is a referral item, so we haven't had anything come back to council yet. So once that comes back, it may be a recommendation that we need all 3, but it was just a referral item to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, so long as you're sure that's what it means, is that staff is going to look at it and come back with a recommendation at some point. It's listed Q2. They will come back to us and then there'll be a presentation just like at our regular meetings as to what a decision might look like.
I got a group of seniors that play tennis all summer long, and I hate to see them lose out in any way.
I'm sure that'll be on the report. Seeing no other questions, Your Worship, we will pass it back to you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor DeRush, Planning and Community Development Services section, please.
Thank you very much. So on the agenda, we do have 5 consent agenda items. The first is the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes of September 30th, 2024. The second is a memo from the planner regarding the zoning bylaw amendment file number ZA 12/2024 regarding 1376 Sandy Bay Road. The third is a memo again from the Director of Planning and Community Development regarding zoning bylaw amendment file number ZA 13/2024, and it's regarding 1457 Tate Point Road. The fourth is a memo from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officer regarding the monthly activity report for October 2024. And the last is a short-term rental licensing bylaw review, PL-2024-58. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of these items? Yes, Mayor Rawson.
I don't want to pull any for changing it. I just want to make a comment if I can. It's regarding the 5th item, the short-term rental licensing, if I may. Recently at county, some of our peers in other municipalities of our size have complemented our STR program. I do know that there's been some positive media that's been out about that, and other communities that don't have a hotel or otherwise have reflected how great this has been and actually looked at us as a leader on this. So I want to share that. That's what's been communicated by some of our peers down at county. And again, there is some media going on around about that. So just want to say a thanks and applause.
Thank you for those comments. Does anyone else have anything to? Yes, Councillor Buttermilker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to compliment staff on that report. I thought it was a very well done report. It really provided a lot of good information. Short-term rentals used to be an issue in Penetanguishene in the previous term, and steps were taken, and it's good to see the outcome and the results, and it's been very positive. So I just want to commend staff on the work that's ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll go to the recommendation that the following consent agenda items, having been given due consideration, be received for information. I've mentioned all 5. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Marchand. We'll go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We have no matters for consideration this evening, and our referral items, we do still have a few on the docket. We have the Cell Tower Public Notification Procedure. We have the HCF Affordable Housing Project. We have 161 Church Street, and we also have the loitering bylaw to look at. And I believe, I guess we'll vote on these first, and then I think we do have some additions. Correct? So can I get a mover for those 4 items? Yes, moved by Deputy Mayor LaRose, seconded by Councillor Marchand, that the Planning and Community Development Services section endorse of the following existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. And we'll go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. And now I believe we do have some additions that we want to put on this. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did raise a piece of correspondence that was on Council's October 23rd Council information package. It was an email dated October 8th from a resident at 7 Water Street pertaining to a fence in their front yard. And I'd like to ask that correspondence be referred to staff and that we receive a report on some options in order to deal with that matter.
Okay, so we have that. Okay, the clerk's got the gist of it, yes? So that'll be moved by Councillor Buttermilker and seconded by Councillor Waters to add that to the referrals. Any other comments on that? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Any other items to add to the list? Seeing none, are there any questions from the media or public? Seeing none, we'll pass that back on to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Drush. Councillor Marchand, Finance and Corporate Services section, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Under the consent agenda, we have 2 items this evening. The 2024 Scholarship Program, Finance Report 2024-28, and the second one is the 2025 Development Charge Annual Indexing Report, FNI-2024-29. Any comments or questions with regards to those 2 consent agenda items? Seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Waters, Councillor Darush, second. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Under matters for consideration, we have 3 items. The first item is the temporary borrowing of funds to meet current expenditures until 2025 taxes are collected. Finance 2024-30. So the recommended action is that the mayor and treasurer are authorized to temporarily borrow funds if required to meet current expenditures until 2025 taxes are collected, and that staff bring forward the necessary bylaw for council's approval. Can I get a mover on that? Deputy LaRose, seconder, Councillor Betancourt. Any questions or comments with regards to this report? Okay, this is an annual approval process. Seeing no comments, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. The next item, 2025 interim property tax levy, finance-2024-31. The recommended action is that staff be directed to proceed with the 2025 interim property tax levy as outlined in the report, and that staff bring forward the necessary bylaw for council's approval. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Waters first and seconded by Councillor Darush. Any comments or questions with regards to this report? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Approved. This motion's carried. Sorry, I stumbled through that one. And the next report, council remuneration, HR-2024-06. The recommended action is that staff be directed to implement the 2024 adjusted council remuneration effective July 1st, 2024, as per staff report, HR-2024-6, and that staff, and further that staff be directed to include the 2025 council remuneration in the 2025 budget draft number 2. Can I get a mover and seconder for this? Mover, Councillor Bettencourt, seconder. Your worship. Comments or questions to members of council with regard to this report? Your worship.
Thank you. I can appreciate this will hit some people with a certain degree of suspicion. I'd like to ask the CEO if he can possibly speak to how we got here. I know there's a process we follow, so just to understand that. And I ask that because we've gone through this at the county, and county recently adopted a similar process where county council looked at our comparator groups, no different we do with staff. And county council made a decision of where we're going to go there. And I've had members of the public reach out to me about that. And I suspect we're going to get the same thing here. So I'd just like to understand, I think the report's well authored, but I just think we need to add a little context that if we just get a little bit of a verbal update from our CEO about how we got here midterm and what that looks like, if you don't mind.
Through you, Madam Chair, to his worship. I can't say for certain how we got here. What I can say is we've had some transition with staff. Certainly as we move forward, we've had some conversation about how we're going to mitigate the chance of that happening again, because we recognize that ideally this should have been brought prior to now, but we're certainly committed to improving the process moving forward.
Great. And I would just say that at our section, we certainly had a good dialogue. The report is very thorough, and thank you very much to HR and Christine for the work that was done. Certainly the recommendation that's being proposed is one that is responsible from a fiduciary responsibility and perspective. Our bylaws do state that our remuneration for council is reviewed in the last year of term of council, and that was not done back in 2022. So there's been no adjustment since 2018 as per the report. So just wanted to highlight that from that perspective. So if there's no other questions or comments, Councillor Bettencourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for summarizing the key aspects of that report. I did think that the report was well done, and the explanation is very clearly laid out in the report. And from that standpoint, I, for one, did not have an issue with it because it's very clearly laid out in the report and the rationale. And I think, as your worship was saying, I think that transparency is important, and I think that report lays it all out if people take the opportunity to read it. So, thank you.
Go ahead, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. I just ask if maybe the CEO can just add a clarifying comment, just for transparency. I believe you just said the last time was 2018. I believe it was 2020. But if we can just have the CEO just comment on that, just for clarity for everyone's purpose, and I'm good.
Through you, Madam Chair, to his worship, yes, it was 2020 was the last update that was made to this.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so, sorry, any other comments from any members of council? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. In terms of referral items, there are 3 items listed under the referral for referral. So paper ballot consideration in the 2026 municipal election, the non-resident fee review update, and then warming cooling center as well. Any additions to the referral items? Your worship, you would like to add an item?
I potentially would, but I turn to the CEO if they just want to tweak a little bit. So there is one here called non-resident fee review update. I'm happy if it's included there, or if you want to make a new one, I'll leave it to staff. During budget, I asked our treasurer about consideration for new revenue tools. For example, paid parking. My example was at the splash pad. and to look at user fees. So the example is, recently I was in the city of Barrie, and Barrie is very clear that if you go and use one of their amenities and you're not a local, it's a 15% charge. So I don't know if that would fit in that referral or if you want a new one, but I'd really like to look at that user fee non-resident. I'd like to look at a revenue tool like the paid parking. And that's why I'm going to suggest whether you amend or you add. I'll leave that to you and the CEO to figure out.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you. My suggestion is we add a new referral item and be specific with the ask. Certainly at a staff level, we're having lots of conversation about what the existing referral item means based on the evolution of this item and where we are today. So my ask would be if we can add a new item and be specific with those particular items, that would help staff. Thank you.
Based on what your worship has mentioned, is that enough to put some parameters around that new referral item?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, so you need a mover and a seconder. Or you're moving that? Yeah, sorry, you're moving that. And is there a seconder for that one? Councillor Waters. Okay, so we now have then, so I'll read the motion. I can put it all together, right? Okay. That the Finance and Corporate Services endorse the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas to staff. So we had the paper ballots, the non-resident fee, the warming cooling center, and the additional revenue stream non-residential extras fee. Any other questions or comments? Oh, we need a mover and seconder for all of these then now, right? Mover?
I think procedurally, I'll look to the clerk. I don't think we actually approved my new one. I think I moved it in Council Waters. So I don't think we voted those. And then I think after that, then we do all of them collectively. But just a suggestion.
So all those in favor of the motion the mayor put forward? All those in favor? Opposed? None? That motion carries. I feel like I'm my first night at council again here. That's over the three previous items. I need a mover and a seconder for that, please. Deputy LaRose and Councillor Waters. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Any questions from the public or the media? Or have I been entertaining enough this evening? Okay, thank you. Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. We're going to look for a motion to adjourn at 9:14 p.m. Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Call for the vote. All in favor. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for participating.